This podcast is brought to you by M&S Food, where exceptional quality meets everyday inspiration. At M&S, they believe great food starts with great ingredients, from expertly sourced fresh produce from Ireland and around the world to chef-created dishes that make every meal feel special. So when they say this is not just food, they mean it. As a chef, I've always loved the M&S approach to food, from the sourcing to the standards. It's the kind of attention to detail that really matters in a kitchen. It's food made with purpose, and that's something I can get behind. I'm Marc Moriarty, and this is Roasted. Let's get into it. Welcome to Roasted with me, Marc Moriarty, where I chat with notable people about their lives through the wonderful world of food and drink. Now, today's guest hails from a dynasty of GAA football, folklore and triumph. Born and raised in the great parish of Ventry in West Kerry, he played senior football for the Kingdom from 2002 to 2016, amassing in a list 5 All-Ireland medals, 10 Munster titles, 3 All-Stars, 1 Player of the Year gong, and I couldn't get all the Gaeltacht stats, but I'll ask him about it from a club perspective. Ó Sé is a name synonymous not only with Irish sport, but I would argue customs and culture. As the youngest, he has a unique vantage point to reflect on all of it, which he has detailed in a recent book of the same name. Marc Ó Sé, welcome to Roasted.
Good to be with you, Mark. Thanks for the invite.
Not at all. You're tearing in at 9 o'clock in the morning to a big plate of your request, which was simple, but also tough for me as a chef. You wanted Ventry crab meat. And I couldn't get Ventry crab meat, so I got a cousin. It's Dublin crab meat, unfortunately. It's not quite as witty, but still pretty sharp, and it's from Lambay Island.
That's lovely.
Just a little bit of garlic butter and on some toasted sourdough bread. So why Ventry crab meat?
Why Ventry crab meat? We used, Mark, my dad was an agricultural officer. You knew my Uncle Tom well. He was the same job, but so the two, they were agricultural officers and they used to help the local farmers every now and again when the headage farms had to be filled out. And in West Kerry and Ventry, a lot of the farmers would actually be fishermen as well. They'd have a boat and they'd go out and they'd do their fishing. And as payment or as a thank you to my dad, every now and again, you'd get a load of crab that'd be just fired in the door in a big case or whatever. And we used to be cracking the hammers and we used to be getting going, just trying to get the shellfish. And it was tough work, but and you'd be eating it afterwards. Oh my God, just I can actually taste it now. It was so nice and so fresh, just out of the sea for the first time. So anything shellfish, I just love it. And
probably one of the greatest ingredients in the world, like fresh crab meat, as you say, cracked straight out of the shell.
Yeah, and just anything like lobster, crayfish, crab, just fish in general. I love it, and I suppose that the part of the country where we're from, then it lends itself to that. There's fish galore down there, so. It's beautiful, and you can have crabs so many different ways, but I love it.
Pretty idyllic childhood that you kind of paint the picture of there. What age are you cracking crab thumbs?
8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
You'd have a Bobby Carney or a Jim Long or whoever dropping off fish to the door and a couple of mackerel or whatever, and it was lovely because we wouldn't have much experience. You would now, but we wouldn't have much experience about going out in boats. We would go out with the local fishermen now and again, but we weren't fishermen ourselves, So, but anytime you would go out onto the water, it was a huge thrill. Really so lucky where we grew up. You know all about it. It was just an incredible part of the country. And so to get out on the boat, it was fabulous, and watch the boys do their business and bring home the fish. I
have read the book, and you speak. I was surprised actually how much you talk about the place where you're from so passionately in so many chapters, because I assume picking up this is going to be a football book or a sports book. It's not. It's very much a snapshot, particularly of your childhood and the place and the time and the feelings.
Yeah.
Describe, because not everyone here will be familiar with Ventry or that part of the world. Give me the elevator pitch of the place, why you love it so much.
Yeah, well, I suppose to start off, Mark, growing up there, a lot of people would have said about, taking the place for granted. It's one thing that I never did was take Ventry or West Kerry for granted, because obviously you've got the landscape, you've Slayhead, you've got Communal Beach, you've got just the beautiful coastal area of West Kerry that we all grew up in, myself and yourself, my family grew up in, and you've the language, you've got the Gaeltacht, you've got the music, you've got, and I think it all lends itself to each other, you know, and I think that growing up there, and you had the winter time, coming up to the winter time now, and I suppose the difference in the winter, the stark contrast with the winter and the summer, everyone flocks to West Kerry, to Ventry during the summer months. During the winter, it's like a ghost town, but there's something beautiful about that as well. And I love it. I actually love it down there this time of the year when you see the waves crashing off the rocks. And so, you know, then I suppose growing up there, it was so rural. It was like, at the time Tomas and myself, we'd cycle back to Galler's football field training, 7 miles back, train back there, hail, rain or sunshine or whatever, 7 miles home. Nowadays you see, you know, kids get dropped everywhere. It was a different time, I think. And so, yeah, when I wrote the book, I think it was very much talk about my family, talk about the West Kerry Gaeltacht, the music that I love playing, the accordion, all of that. And I think there's so much more to it than just football. And I think somebody mentioned to me there recently, I think football isn't even mentioned until something like the 100-something page. So that in itself kind of shows, I suppose, how proud I am of the area. And obviously now I'm living in Tralee, but anytime I get back there, it's like recharging the battery, you know, and it's only 50 minutes back the road for me, so it's nice to get back when I can.
Has it changed? I'm conscious it is essentially a part of rural Ireland, and you grew up, it was 30 years ago now, and there's a lot of talk about rural Ireland all across that side of the country. How has it changed now, as opposed to 30 years ago? And is it for the better? Is it for the worse?
Well, it has changed. I mean, you look at the amount of summer houses down there now. There's far more summer houses in Ventry than there was. There's a photograph of Dunquin back in the 70s and the 80s, and you look at it now and you see the amount of summer houses. And look, you wouldn't mind once they're being used. That's the most important thing. But it's definitely, I suppose, it was kind of there wasn't as many people coming then. I think now it's. I often hear about the Gael Gorey, the Gael-ins as we used to call them, the students who used to come back and learn their Irish, and a lot of them are coming back now, I think, and you know they fell in love with the area maybe 30 years ago or whatever, and they're coming back now and spending a lot more time back there. But yeah, it's like you see how busy it is during the summer, and there's plenty for everyone. There's like plenty to go around for everyone, all the pubs, but that's where they make their money, and like there's only a few months in it. But I think it definitely it's as years have gone on, it's like it's nearly, what's the word I'm trying to describe it? It's nearly a product. West Kerry is a kind of a brand. That's the word I'm looking for. It nearly is, you know, and Dingle is a brand. It's kind of a mini Killarney, and you see Killarney now, it's going like before.
It's better than that.
It is. We like to think so. But Killarney is going full 12 months of the year now. And I think we're not there yet, but we're getting to that level where West Kerry is definitely a lot busier than it was.
Talk to me about people who've lived there, their family lived there all their life, and is there potentially a sort of a drain now of people going to Dublin or going to Tralee or Cork or whatever it is, and where does that leave people who want to live there?
Yeah, well, when I grew up, my view was I was always going to live there, and I suppose, you know, you live your life and things happen and you move. So I moved to Tralee in, I'd say maybe close to 10 years ago. But like, you know, three brothers, four of us at home when we were growing up. Now there's one there, Fergal is there, Dara and myself are in Tralee, Tomas is in Cork. But as I say, we try and get back as much as we can. But yeah, it's, you know, look, it's everyone lives their life, and I think, you know, unfortunately some people don't get to stay at home, but it's home will always be Ventry though. That's the thing. And for me growing up, I'm living in Tralee. Tralee is where I live. It's where my kids are reared and all of that, but home is always Ventry, and that's something that I'm very proud of. And And whatever it is about it, just the buzz I get when I go home. But then, Mark, you're so busy, you don't get to go home as much as you'd like. And I suppose that's an area where I'm always trying to make sure I do make time for going home to Ventry, you know.
And the Irish language has had a fair old renaissance the last few years.
Yeah, it has, yeah, and it's great. And like, I was always kind of wary of the fact, say, that my kids growing up, that I wanted them to have the Irish. And so when Tig started school, he went to the Gael School, Scoil and like you said there, it is. And you see stuff like Hector's book coming out and An Irish Word a Day, and like all these things help, I think. And the amount of people who've come to me and said, if only I learned Irish back in the day, I like the regrets that they have. But I think there's lots of things that the government could do to even improve it still. I think that the course could be different in the Leaving Cert to kind of help that. The emphasis not being on the literature side of it, you know, I think that could help. But look, we're so proud to have that language, and like I love speaking the language. Even to my small fella, when I collect him after school every day, we'll have those cúpla focail as Gaeilge, you know, Conna sa bhí scoil, you know, Vilober Valagot, all this stuff. Like I talk to him, and because I'm wary of the fact that when we go home, I don't want this fella out of his depth, not being able to converse with his cousins. So
it can be intimidating going into the shop down there and a couple of Irish words thrown at you.
Yeah, so this is it. But like, yeah, no, he's well able now at this stage, and you know, and Tommy's, you know, he's not there yet, but he's only 2. So yeah, but it's nice that they'll grow up having the cúpla focail.
What would you have eaten growing up then? Aside from obviously crab, that wasn't every night.
Yeah, certainly wasn't crab every night, I can assure you that. But my mom was very regimental. Like,
we have to have a few words on your mum.
Yeah, like she was obviously in charge of the house, but like it was set, like it was standard. Like you'd have a shepherd's pie on a Monday, you'd have bacon on a Tuesday, and not alone would you have the bacon on a Tuesday, you'd have to eat the fat, like. And back then when we were young, like, now you love it because it's all the taste is just fantastic. But like back then, the amount of fat on the side of the plate, like you had to eat it. Jesus, like I still have
hair on the skin and everything.
Still have nightmares. So you'd have something like that every day. A set go to. You could have fish fingers on a Wednesday. No, we're at the age you'd never ever have a steak. Like that was never like, you know, we weren't those rich boys now that were getting ribeyes. They weren't in Ardivore anyway, that's for sure. But it was very much, and like I'm watching my fellas now, Mark, and we usedn't even, like, we'd have Coca-Cola, 7-Up if there was a party. That was it. There was no such thing as, you know, we had cornflakes. That was it. There was no variation from that. There was no Rice Krispies. There was no Cocoa Pops. There was none of that. So we had porridge, we had toast, we had juice. That was your breakfast. You'd go off, you'd have your sandwiches off to school, cycle back the road a mile to Kilvicadownig. You'd come home, like I said, you'd have your dinner. You'd have a fry up on a Sunday. That was a huge, like, we were lucky if we got that. Don't get me wrong now, I'm painting a picture here that we were kind of half deprived.
In a hovel.
No, we weren't that bad. We used to get custard and ice cream the odd day after our dinner. But yeah, so it was very much. And then when the students came during the summertime.
So explain that.
Come here, you like. So the students would come. So you'd be very much on the same diet the students were on. So whatever they were having, we were having. Now, the older we got, it was a fair rebellion, I can tell you, because we needed to be eating like a lot better. So yeah, it improved as when the football got serious. But yeah, when we were younger, so we would have been eating the chicken nuggets and the chips and all this, and as I said, the fish fingers and all of that, and the shepherd's pie, the ready-made meals that my mom would have ready. But then, of course, when the students came, we had 2 cows down in the field, and my dad would milk the cows and pasteurize the milk. The students were drinking this stuff.
These are Irish college students.
Irish college. I would say they would still have nightmares over the milk. And if you let the milk like stay, just left it in situ for an hour, the cream would rise to the top again. Like, so you'd actually have to get a spoon and you'd have to whip the cream off the top of the milk. It was disgusting.
Didn't have this in Dublin.
No, but like I actually was in a farm lately, And it was completely different. Whatever we did anyway, we did it really, really wrong, because even though it was pasteurised, so we were ticking a box there. I went to a farm lately in Tralee, and they've cows, they milk the cows. They bring in a huge crushkeen, as we call it, a big jug, and they put it straight into the fridge. Straight in. Nothing done to, not pasteurised, nothing. And they've been drinking that milk all their lives. And they're still alive anyway. So look, there's something, they're doing something right. And I'll tell you, it was the closest thing I've seen to a pint of Guinness, the milk. It was gorgeous. So whatever we were doing with the pasteuriser, it was, I don't know, was the grass in Ventry or what, but the milk anyway was a lot different than what it was. But yeah.
Do you cook?
I do, yeah. But I'd have my, I cook the fries on a Sunday morning. I wouldn't be great. My wife Ellen would be a lot better. She's very good at the pasta dishes. I'm good at the steaks. I like having my steaks, particularly during the summer with the barbecue.
What's your signature dish now? If you put on the spot,
it would be the steak.
Yeah,
it would be steak. I like making mashed potato with onions and salt and plenty of butter. Anything that's good for you, really, or not good for you, I like, you know. So a steak, mash, some greens, and a nice glass of red wine. That would be my signature dish.
Sounds all right.
Yeah, nice ribeye.
Worst meal of your life?
I would say, like, I go back to it, Mark, those nightmare stories where I'd be sitting down, I was the smallest, and the shop was next door. And of course, we'd go into the shop and we'd eat all the sweets whenever we get a window, because we'd never get those at home. So then you'd go home and you couldn't eat your dinner because you had eaten so much trash. So my father would actually sit next to me, almost force feeding me. And I'll never forget that bacon and cabbage and that fat, as you said yourself, the hair coming out of the fat. So yeah, I was close to getting sick one or 2 days there on those occasions.
You're the first guest that ever said it was something at home was the worst meal of their lives. This episode of Roasted is brought to you by M&S Food. M&S work with the best producers from Ireland and beyond to bring real quality to your table. Like their beautifully ripened Irish tomatoes grown on the North Dublin coast by the Foley brothers. A perfect addition to a variety of dishes. Explain to someone that has zero clue, has never even seen the GA, what football means in Kerry.
Oh wow, football. We grew up on football. Okay, what it means in Kerry is, like, when we were growing up, there was nothing else. I know you could say there was a golf course, and there was, but there was nothing else for us except Gaelic football. That was it. Like, and so now you grow up, you've football, you've soccer, you've rugby, you've everything. You've basketball, and all my lads, they're playing basketball, they're playing football, they're playing soccer, they're golfing. Excuse me, but growing up, when we were growing up, it was Gaelic football, and it's like a religion. So, it was something that we used to just love doing. Obviously, our uncle played it, so we were kind of looking up to him, and trying to achieve what he had achieved. And
he was a celebrity, I assume. In that was like living next door to a celebrity.
This is it, like, and I mean, he was like, say, he had the charisma, he had the X factor, as my Uncle Tom used to call it. He did, like, and he was able to, you know, I suppose what he achieved on the football field, later then as a manager, all of that. So to grow up in that environment and then watching these guys come back celebrating when they won in the 80s, with the great Kerry players, the Bomber Listons, the Mikey Sheehys, all these legends of the game, and watching them in our kitchen and watching these guys in the flesh and saying, wow, like, it was like, I'd imagine for any young boy or girl growing up, it was like watching a Ronaldo or a Messi or someone like that. That's what it was like for us.
And then in your living room the next day.
So and obviously then having the Sam Maguire Cup year after year down there. Funny story actually with the Sam Maguire was when Paddy was captain in 1985. We went to a rural primary school, Kilvick Downey, back the road from our house. It was either Kilvick, which was a mile, or Ventry. For some reason we went to Kilvick, I think because our parents went there, or my dad went there. But but there was much of a muchness a mile either way, you know. But anyway, when Paddy was captain in 85, there was 25 kids in the school, and there was no demand for Sam Maguire back then because Kerry were winning it so often that when Paddy was captain, he just gave the cup to the school, so each student was allowed to bring the cup home for a night. So like Sam Maguire was in our house for 4 nights, and so that's the way it was. But it was, so to answer your questions, like it was like growing up in Ventry, everything was geared around Gaelic football. That was it. And you'd hear the stories about local legends like Bat Garvey, who played in the Polo Grounds in 1947 for Kerry in New York. All these famous
It's like mythology almost.
Yeah, it kind of is, yeah. And Tom Long from Ventry, first cousin of my dad's, who then moved to Killarney, one of the all-time great Kerry footballers. And you'd grow up feeding off these stories. And then you'd get, and of course then, the Kerry's Golden Years video. And if we watched it 1,000 times, I'd say it's probably an understatement. And you could just memorise every clip of Micheál O'Hare or Micheál Moriarty or whoever was doing the commentary, and to this day, if it was put on, I could still, you know, memorise it. But yeah, so that was that. Just growing up, and you have to understand then as well, though. Me and Tomas are probably still too young to go to the games. So those big games, Paddy was captain in 85. I was still only 5, so I'm only kind of like say grasping it maybe at 6, 7, 8. So I remember my earliest memory is 85 being lifted onto the lorry when they were coming into Ardavour with the cup. So it's a lovely memory to have, but that's my earliest memory. So I wouldn't have remembered the games, but I would have had to watch all those games on the video to get an appreciation.
This is before Sky Sports were churning out Premier League and every sport in the world.
Exactly.
You probably you'd no awareness of any other sport going on.
None. And, you know, you'd see 7 games per year. You'd see the Munster final, the Ulster, the Leinster, the Connacht. That was 4, 2 All-Ireland semi-finals and a final. So you didn't get to see that much football either. So it was 7 games. Now, thankfully, they show loads of games on RT and GA+, the whole lot. So we kind of grew up watching the club. And just at that time, the club started really improving and really getting good. So it was very much club driven and just, you know, ultimately wanting to play for Kerry, and then seeing your brothers, Fergal captain of the Kerry Miners, Dara Kerry Minor, Tomas 2-year Kerry Minor. That's ultimately what I want to achieve.
Pressure?
Oh, huge, massive, and pressure put on myself.
You were the youngest,
yeah.
So you didn't want to be the only Ó Sé not to be.
This is it, yeah. And I put huge pressure on myself. And I remember, Mark, the first Kerry Minor selection, the team was picked. We were playing Waterford, who were actually quite good at the time. I know people associate Waterford with hurling. Waterford were quite good. So we played Waterford, and the team was selected on a Thursday night. And 1-15 was, and I wasn't on. And I think I was 17 or 18, and I was in the car driving home, and I was crying on the way home. I felt I was a failure. I felt I left my family down. And I don't think they would have felt that way, but I certainly felt that way. So I found that really tough. Thankfully got a draw. Waterford were really good. Thankfully got a draw against Waterford. And for the replay, I was starting. And didn't look back after that really. But that was the pressure that I put myself under. And it's actually something I used to do later in life as well, is put pressure on myself to perform when I was playing. And it was something I think that worked. You know, just like, but look, it back then though, there was definitely pressure.
What's it feel like the first time you put the jersey on?
Oh, amazing.
Do you still remember it?
I still remember it, and I still have that jersey. I was giving away loads of my jerseys, but the one jersey that I've always held is the Kerry Minor jersey. I'll always hold on to that jersey. It meant everything to me. But yeah, it was amazing. I remember playing against Waterford in Tralee. I was playing in the half back line, and it's a game we're on. You know, not many people are good at playing in the inside line. And then I was pushed back there, and I was like, whoa, this is really tough. Now I'm in the inside line, and any slip or anything, and the ball's in the back of the net, you know. So yeah, but I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. And it was a great education, those first few games with the Miners. And
did you feel like you fit in?
I did, yeah. My Uncle Tom, actually, you know, my Uncle Tom passed away since, but of all the I suppose there was my dad, there was Paddy, there was Tom. Tom was the one guy, say with the minors in particular, that wanted to make sure one of us won an All-Ireland minor, simply because he won an All-Ireland minor. And he was the only O'Shea to win an All-Ireland minor. And when he died, Rosanna actually gave me his All-Ireland minor medal. I know you got something off him as well, but she gave me his All-Ireland minor medal, and it's something that I cherish, you know. But I remember with the minors, we got as far as the All-Ireland semi-final against Laois, and we were playing in Croke Park, and he brought me into Tralee, decked me out in lovely clothes, the whole lot, paid £300 at the time. He got me the best of clobber and off home, and just hoping that I'd get to an All-Ireland final. Unfortunately didn't, but yeah, so he was very influential, say, at that minor level.
That was the first time you played in Croke Park? Then?
Yeah, first time. I'll never forget it, because the new stadium was being built, the Cusack stand was built. So the seniors were using the Cusack stand dressing rooms, the old Nally dressing rooms where all the teams going back to the 1900s through were, and it was this low concrete roof. So we were in the old dressing rooms, and I remember Charlie Nelligan, he was saying to us, he said, when you go out here now, it's going to be a sea of white, because Kerry were playing Kildare in the senior All-Ireland semi-final, Paddy against Mick O'Dwyer.
98, was it?
98, yeah. Correct. And he said, when you look down into the hill, just keep an eye on the goalpost, because he said, it'll be hard to see, it'll be a sea of white. So, and he was right. He was right, yeah. But it was a good game. I think we lost by a point or two to Laois, but it was a good day. It was a good learning curve as well, and lovely to play in Croke Park, because
you're only a kid.
That's all. It's just gone 18. But I remember saying to you there that Tomas and myself wouldn't have been brought to games. But I remember in 1996, 2 years previous to that, Kerry were playing Mayo in both the minor semi-final and senior semi-final, and it was Tomas's first day in Croke Park, and he was playing there. He was never in Croke Park prior to this. So, like, as I say, Fergal and Dara were brought to a lot of the games, myself and Tomas not so much. And but then when we got, and Kerry started improving then in the 90s, late 90s, and we then started to make teams, which was great. But
do you have any idea of the gravitas of the idea of football and stuff when you're out playing or you're in a season, or is it just, it's a job and we have things to do here? Or are you sat, do you ever run out in Croke Park and you go, here, Jesus, here, how have I got here?
You not when you run out on Croke Park, but you would often think, you know, yeah, when you alone time or whatever, how have I done this? You know, how have I? No, to be totally honest, it was all hard work. It was hard work to get to where we were. We didn't leave the ball down as kids. Everywhere we went, if it was from the house over to the shop, wherever we went, that ball was always with us. So that was a big thing. And then when we did manage to kind of get onto teams, minor teams, under 21 teams, again, it was about performing and about, say, just having that consistency. Because when I started off, Mark, that consistency wasn't there. And I struggled in my first year, 2002 in particular, the year my dad passed away. But I struggled. I was playing good football up until the end of that year. And that's when the wheels kind of came off for me a small bit. Poor final taken off, I'd say, after 50 minutes, you know, and Dara was captain. It was the year my dad passed away. Paddy was manager. Tomas was playing. So feeling as though I left the side down, that was a really hard one to take, that 2002 defeat. But yeah, so you definitely, in games like that, you're sitting on the sideline and you're saying, how did I let this happen? You know, so you'd have this contrasting emotions. You know, you play, what did Roy Keane say? You play football long enough, there'll be nearly more bad days than good days, you know. But yeah, it's like great days, but also really tough days.
Talk to me, because I know you've said it before, but your dad died that year in 2002.
Yeah.
And you went out and played that weekend.
Yeah.
But just describe, as a young person who lost a parent, and I do remember that time. Obviously, the Dublin accent, but a massive Kerry fan. It was the news story of the week in that news cycle, and it was a very public thing to have to do.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough because Paddy was manager, as I said. Dara was captain. We played Cork in 2002, my first big game against Cork. And you see, what you have to understand about this is I used to go to the games with my dad. I used to sit with him when Dara and Tomas would be playing. And any time they'd get the ball, you'd be sitting down and next thing this knee would just push off you. And like, he was playing the game with them, sitting in the stand. He was, every ball they got, they'd pass off the ball and then he'd relax again and they'd get the ball again. And I'd actually have an argument with him. I'm never going to a game with you again. I said, my leg will be bruised from you. I said, you need to calm down. So the poor man was very nervous. And then can you imagine when the three of us were playing, particularly me being the youngest, maybe a bit vulnerable, playing in the first game, big game. And that game was an 8-all draw. I remember Ireland were playing Spain in the World Cup the same day. Ireland lost in penalties. But so he was very nervous and Fergal was sitting with him at the game. And then that was the Sunday and he passed away on the Tuesday. 60 years of age, too young. But so that was tough. And then there was talks that the game was going to be put back or, all this Munster Council were maybe going to make a decision. So we buried Dad on the Thursday and then it was decided that the game was going ahead Saturday. So we made a decision that, look, he'd want us to play in the game. So we did. We played. So
that's a conversation you have to sit down and have
with my mom and with the lads. And we decided that if we were to play, that we'd go over to train with the team on the Thursday. So we buried him on Thursday and we actually trained that evening with the team. It was, but believe it or not, Mark, it actually took our mind off it for that hour and a half that we were training for whatever happened. You get out onto that pitch and kick a ball and just all those troubles just go away for that hour. But it was tough. It was really tough. And I remember then the replay in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, always a tough place to go, Páirc Uí Chaoimh.
What age are you, sorry, at this point?
22. 22, yeah. Look, there's no good age for a parent to pass, and it is, but it was, go down to Páirc Uí Chaoimh, as I say, tough place to go. And then the minute silence, that's a tough time, that minute silence, because it's for your dad.
Jeez, you don't need that really.
Yeah, it's tough. And I'll never forget Colin Corkery, the famous Cork forward. After the minute silence, he was full forward. I was cornerback. He ran over, tapped me in the head, and it was a lovely moment for him. Showed huge respect. I know we absolutely kill each other on the pitches, but that was
a fierce rivalry at the time.
Massive. Kerry Cork was as big as it gets. It's like Kerry Dublin, Kerry Cork, but there is that sporting side of it, which is there as well. So that was Cork won that game, and we went the back door then. And we actually started playing unbelievable football, as good a football as we've ever played with any Kerry team that I was involved in. And I started playing really good matches, picked up a Man of the Match award. But then, as I say, towards the end of the year, I got taken off in the final. I had a poor game and, felt as though I left the side down, felt as though I left my dad down, Dara, Paddy, everyone. And
Lost by a point?
Lost by a point, yeah. And I was always one to put pressure on myself if it needed to be. And so nobody needed to tell me how good I was or how bad I was, because I would make that myself, and so I knew where I was at after that game. And it's really tough one to take, but that's the beauty about, I suppose, a team game. About there's always a next game that's going to happen, be it a club, when the counties finish, you're back to your club or whatever it may be. So you never get time to dwell on something, and you have to just keep going. And lucky enough, I suppose we got through it as a family, and it was tough though. It was hard as well for everyone, for my grandmother as well, who's, I think, no parent should ever have to bury one of their kids, and she did, so that was tough for my grandmother Beatrice. As I said earlier, she was such a larger than life character, so that was all very tough to take.
I suppose that's what the GA is as well, though, is it's a support network.
It is, yeah, it is, and GA is the best organisation in the world. And we knew that because we had great support from our teammates, from our from club teammates, inter-county teammates. They were just outstanding. And it was look, do you know what? It was a tough time. And even now, say you see things that happen, kids born, family events, and you'd miss your dad on days like that, where we were all very so close, you know, and you'd miss him in days like that where you'd have a family event, you know. And then Paddy went as well. He went too early as well at 57. So there's obviously a condition in the family that we have to be careful about, you know, a heart failure. So, but yeah, so look, that's life.
Talk to me about better things. All-Ireland final day. I think anyone listening to this who's into the GA would have probably dreamed as a kid of running out onto that pitch in Croke Park on All-Ireland final day. What is it like for you that day from getting up in the morning? Now, we know what happens on the pitch, we know all the tactics, we know the results, but what's the build-up to that day like for a player getting on the coach, putting on the jersey?
Yeah, it's very, for me, it was very nerve-wracking. Very
Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, geez, I used to hate the morning of a game. Hate it. It's a strong word to use now. When you should be embracing it and loving it. I used to just find that day, give me the day before, no problem. No nerves on the Saturday. Come up to Dublin on the train, no nerves whatsoever. Have the meeting, everything the night before, the meal, the meeting, the walk afterwards. Fantastic. The morning of the match, you just wait. And funny enough, Mark, I used to never have a problem with sleeping. I'd sleep. You hear these stories about, I couldn't sleep, too nervous. For whatever it was with me, I never had a problem sleeping. I was never nervous the night before. But as soon as you woke the following day, I was really nervous. And like so nervous that you find it hard to eat. And you're force feeding yourself, a bit like what my dad was doing to me when I was, but you're force feeding yourself because you know you need this in the body. You need the fuel in the body. So you'd have the breakfast.
What are you eating?
You're eating cereal, toast, carbs. You know, I think the most important meal is nearly the meal the night before. You know, because you're having the carbs. And I used to have bacon and poached eggs. Or bacon and scrambled eggs, I should say. I used to find the bacon was great because you'd get thirsty after it and drink loads of water. But it was, a creature of habits. And then we'd have our lunch, and depending on the start time of a final was 3:30. So you'd work 3 hours back from that. So you'd be having your lunch at 12, 12:30. Tough enough again now, and you'd be having your chicken pasta, and you just forcing it into you. And I remember telling Seamus Moynihan a story, actually. I was sitting next to Seamus Moynihan on a bus on the way into the city, and when you'd get as far as Drumconnor, then all the fans would be there. And it was kind of cool because you'd have the guard escort and around the city and coming in.
Pageantry.
Yeah. And we used to stay in Dunboyne or Plaza out by the airport. So wherever we were staying, we still had a bit of a journey in that day of the final, and like everyone was so different. Like I was really nervous. Like the Gooch was completely opposite. Like the Gooch would go back to bed after his lunch, and so much so Paul Galvin tells the story where he's actually shaking him to wake him. Come on, Colin, we've an All-Ireland final to play. You know, this guy was still asleep. So, and then he goes out and he gets man of the match in the All-Ireland final. So everyone is so different. And Shamo and myself, the bus was coming in, and I was looking at this kid who was had a Kerry jersey on, and he's there with his dad. And I said, Jesus, I was so nervous. I said, Shamo, wouldn't you love to be that guy? Where he's going to the game, doesn't care in the world, and he's just like so happy, like watching Kerry. And he turned to me and he says, not a hope, he says. They'd love to be us. And I just thought, geez, whoa, you're right. Yeah, they would love to be us. And so I had a kind of a different take on it thereafter. But it still didn't take from the fact that I got nervous. But the funny thing about it, Mark, is with all of that, and then when the ball was thrown in, the nerves just went. It was just all gone. Unless you got to maybe a period where 71st, 72nd minute where we may have been 2 or 3 up and, had to finish out the game. You could get a small bit nervous, say, I hope the ball doesn't come down my end here
Really?
now. Yeah, you could, like in case, like I'll never forget the 2014 final against Donegal, where, I was doing a great job on McFadden for the whole game. And then the ball comes in, we're 3 up and the game is up nearly. And I said, they're going to get a goal here. So I go in towards the goal and the ball ricochets over to my man who's totally out of the play. and he has a go at it, and it hits the post, and like could have gone in just as easy. Inches.
And that would have been on you.
That would have been on me, yeah. So yeah, that would have been on me. So yeah, it's there's, as you say, a game of inches. But
when you're in front of, there's 85,000 people in Crow Park in the middle of the match, are you aware of the noise of the crowd and everything going on, or when that ball goes in, is it just purely where the ball is going?
It's purely where the ball is going. And I was playing the full back line, and my brother Tomas would be outside me in the half back line, and you're talking maybe 20, 30 yards, and you're roaring at him and he can't even hear you. So like, it's chaos. But that's the game. It's amazing. Like the thrill to play there is just something else. Like, and we were so lucky then we got to 6 finals in a row from 04 to 09, and to go back there every year and play in every one of those finals, and to play in 10 in total, it was just incredible. Like, and so I know I was very lucky to be a part of that team. So yeah, it was like, but as I say though, when the ball was thrown in, the nerves go, and it's bedlam. It's going for it, like it's chaos, and it's great.
What was the best game you ever played?
Personally, the best game.
Yeah.
I played a quarter final against Monaghan in 07, and it was the one game we could have lost. We won the All-Ireland that year, but it's funny like how these things work out. My hamstring was really sore before the game, and I was so close to going to the manager, Pat Ó Sé, at the time and say, listen, I think I'm in trouble here. And I just did some activation work with it before the game, and I ended up having probably the best game I ever played with Kerry. And I got a block down on Tommy Freeman in the second half, and had the ball gone into the back of the net, they would have beaten us. And so that was probably the best game I played. That was probably the best, I would say.
And the worst?
The worst, I would say, the 0-2 Armagh game.
Yep.
That one, or else the National League final 2016, the day of my 36th birthday. Huge celebrations in Croke Park, 100 years anniversary from the 1916 Easter Rising, and I'm tagging off the day of my 36th birthday, 24th of April, marking Bernard Brogan, and we just got annihilated, and Bernard ran amok on me. He just ran amok, and I'd say that was probably one of the worst as well.
Have you any regrets across your footballing career?
No. I was really lucky. You look back on that 2002 campaign, look, I was just a young fella, physically not as developed as I was later in the years, and I think that came against me slightly. But in terms of regrets, no. I was very lucky that I played for what I played. You know, I don't think I did anything crazy on the pitch, you know, so I don't really have any regrets.
And how do you reflect when someone reads out, say, the CV, sporting CV of 5 All-Ireland medals, 10 Munster titles, 3 All-Stars, a Player of the Year? What do you think of it now when it's read back to you?
It's funny when you say that, because when I hear the 5 All-Ireland medals, and people say 5 All-Ireland medals, but what people don't understand is I lost 5 All-Ireland medals as well. So like, anytime I hear that, I think of the ones that I lost, and they probably inspired me to go on and try and win more. So when we lost in 05, you bottle that hurt, and we came back and we won it in 06. When we lost in 08, again, we bottle that hurt and we come back and we win in 09. So a lot of the ones I actually lost 6, lost the All-Ireland Club final with the Gaeltacht.
That's there,
so look, it goes back to the point of you play long enough and you will lose more. But yeah, I still don't regret it. Look, there was a lot of games. We possibly could have won some of those games, but that's sport. And yeah, so chuffed, so lucky to have had such a long career and won and been played with some of the best players and played against some of the best players. So very lucky. And
kept the legacy going as the youngest in the...
Yeah, it was. And you know what? It was such an honour to be able to play under my Uncle Paddy, play under Fergal with the Gaeltacht and with Fergal, and play with my brothers. You know, it was just absolute privileged to have done that and been part of something special.
How many, for people who don't know, Ordevoher is a crossroads, literally crossroads with a church, a few houses and a shop and a pub. How many All-Ireland medals are out of that crossroads?
Senior. Paddy has 8. Dara has 6. Tomas and myself have 5 each. So that's 10 and 8, 18 and 6 at 24. 24 senior medals. And the boys have a few under 21 medals as well. So
Decent enough. There must be something in the water at that crossroads.
Yeah, lucky to have grown up with such great players and in a great family. Very chuffed.
If I give you a table of 4 guests at home or in a restaurant, you can invite 4 people, dead or alive, any generation. Who would you put on the table?
Dead or alive? Paddy'll have to be there. So, jeez, he was some character, and he used to love coming up to Dublin. Love meeting he had the X factors, I'd say. Love meeting all these celebrities, for another word. So he'd definitely be there, and he'd be top of the table, telling all the stories and keeping everyone in entertained. Mick Galway, I'd have to have him there. Another man who's just how he does it, I don't know, but pure character. Who else would I have there? I'd have to have Roy Keane. I love his wit. He's very funny. And myself, is that 4, is it?
No, you get one more.
Okay, one more. Okay. Jeez, I don't know. Might have to have you there to cook for us. Let me see.
It'd be a wasted bit of crack.
Yeah, Gaza maybe. I'd love to get inside his head. Why he does what he does.
That'd be a wild night in Tralee.
Oh, it would be a wild night with those guys. Crazy night, I can assure you, yeah.
And of all the things you've achieved, life, career, what are you most proud of?
I'd say my family, my kids. Without a doubt. Just every day, just watching them growing up. Without a doubt, that'd be what I'd be most proud of. Just watching them get older and the fun that we have, like, it's just, it's entertaining. It's challenging. It's seriously challenging, but it's very entertaining and rewarding, and just love watching them growing up.
It's the simple things.
Yeah, very proud. Very proud of them and Ellen, of course, and watching them growing up. We're very lucky.
Marc Ó Sé, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Enjoyed it.